Jimmy, how did you get started?
Doing stand-up comedy. I had gotten out of college and I had a degree in marketing communications. And that means I was going to go write advertising, right? And I didn't want to get a job, so I was like, I'll take off this one summer before I look for, I'm just going to go drink and be a maniac. And then I started doing stand-up at an open mic. My friend goes, hey, there's an open mic at this comedy club near our house. And I was like, okay, I'll go.
Because drink and be a maniac is the job description.
Pretty much. And I was pretty hammer-skied the first time I went on stage, sure. And
hammered-skied? You
he did.
Pulled language out of your college.
From my,
Nobody says hammered ski unless they're in a fraternity.
Or I grew up in a Polish neighborhood. And and then I went there and that was it. I had a great show, the first show I had, and then I didn't get a laugh for a month.
Yeah.
But that memory, it sustained me, and I kept going back for more abuse.
Got like a bite of the...
And you know what I found out? That a lot of comedians have that similar story, that their first time on stage goes really well, and then they don't get a laugh for a long time after that. Every show is different, every crowd is different, they all have their personality, every venue has its own energy, there's things that so you have to learn all that crap. So you have all this talent and funny in you, but you just don't know how to make it go.
I used to have a bit where I said all the world's a stage, but maybe right here where I'm standing a little more so. It's almost like someone came into this room and just swept all the staginess into one corner.
Nice.
Commoditized it. And I discovered stand-up late. I was trying to be in a band when I was in my 20s. And I used to go to parties, and I hated myself. I'd go home and be like, God, you were the obnoxious guy at the party again. And then I found stand-up, and now I'm delightful at parties. I just sit and visit quietly.
Yes.
I have a place to go get that fulfilled.
I think there's something different happening with the internet age, whereas, like, comedy had a bad problem for a long time with only allowing a certain genre of comedy.
Right.
And there was only a certain type of person that went to comedy clubs, and it was a lot narrower. Now there's an audience for all sorts of different, and I don't like the term all comics, but that's a genuine term. But there's audiences for all these people that are taking the art form in all sorts of different ways, and some of it's wanky, but some of it's really good, and I don't think there would have been an audience for it. There's no line anymore. Like, technically the line is wherever you feel like you don't want physical violence enacted against you. My friend came up to me a couple weeks ago, and he told me that he had a dream that he dropped a baby down a well, and I laughed. Because my sense of humor is forged in the fires of hell by Satan himself, and he got really offended. He was like, that's not funny, that's disturbing. And I was like, well, that's kind of subjective. It's disturbing to you because you like babies. Let's back up anyway. It was a fictionalized baby. I'm not laughing at a real baby dying. It was a dream that if his dreams were becoming reality, we'd have a lot more to worry about than the baby thing anyway. If he was actually manifesting his thoughts while he was asleep, he'd already be flying around the world in his own private jet, fueled by pterodactyl urine, having threesomes with 6-armed, blue-skinned French-Canadian girls, dropping foreign babies down wells in 17 countries, and occasionally, for some reason, being forced to have nude sword fights with his dead grandmother in a house that looks exactly like the one that he grew up in, but it doesn't have walls, just open frameworks and hanging curtains made of human teeth. But that's not the point. I don't hate babies. I just, as a contrarian, it bugs me that I'm expected to like each and every baby. I like some babies. I think that they're raised by good people. But there's 7 billion people in the world, and I've met a lot of bad ones, and they have to come from somewhere, and some of these babies have to just be awful. They're out there just like slapping other babies and unplugging incubators to other jaundiced babies while no one's looking. And then people tell me, whoa, you have to like babies. How could you not like babies? They're cute. And then I get really offended because I find that cute word really sinister. Like, when people use the word cute, I don't really think it's a positive. What most people are saying when they say cute is anything that can be killed with less than 4 pounds of pressure. You know, like people call something cute because they could control it, you know, like it's like, oh, look, it's completely non-threatening. It would never hurt me or call me names or leave me and mother at 4 o'clock in the morning while mother sat in the hallway drinking vodka out of a plastic sippy cup. Like, I don't like the word cute. What was my point? There is a breed of atheist that thinks that because they're an atheist, they are now educated.
Yeah.
Right.
It's an intelligence
They speak in this way, and it's like, no, you're actually just a moron like me.
you just look up to smart
I think it's
people,
the-
which is a good thing, but you're not.
So when
That
I
doesn't
guess,
by proxy make you
Yeah,
smart.
right.
I guess because there is no doctrine, there's no book. It's much more of an attitude thing. Whereas, say, a fundamentalist Christian would think that they're good. They're fundamentally good because they go by the
Yeah.
Bible word by word, and then a fundamental atheist, whatever that would be, would think that they're intelligent because they're an atheist and they don't believe in
I was
God,
gonna
so
say,
I'm smarter than
my-
them.
I do remember.
My big problem with a certain number of atheists.
I do remember an example.
But you know what? They're still right, even though they're not smart.
That's my problem right there, actually. That's my problem.
But that's the problem.
They're not right.
What are they wrong about?
If you're going to take science as your religion, you need to.
We're not taking science as our religion.
Let me talk. If you're going to pick up science as your religion, the biggest problem with religion is that religious people think they're right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not that they're wrong; it's that they think they're right.
Scientific people prove they're
Wait.
right.
No, they don't.
They don't.
Because
Well, that's
you
what
don't
science
understand
is.
how the scientific
They prove
method
themselves
works. If
wrong.
you think
Oh, they
that
do.
science proves anything right, science doesn't prove anything
They prove
right.
themselves wrong.
Science disproves things.
Right.
Oh.
Science
Yeah.
proves, well, it's not this way, or it's not this way, or it's not this way. We are left
that's
with
a
this.
semantic
game.
No, it is
I
not
mean.
a semantic game. It is.
No,
it's-
that's true.
It's
That's how-
important. It's very important.
It's what's so great about science.
Well, science is you can replicate it, you can observe it.
Yeah.
It's
Consistent.
And it is
consistent,
And it's not always
and it
consistent.
can't be disproved.
Yeah, and it's the best.
But when it
it's
is,
the
we
best
let it
method
go.
Or
to
it's-
explore the universe that we've come up with
Yeah.
so far. But when people start going, this is right, this is right, this is right, it's like, well, it's actually much more complicated than that. Like, there's actually.
But the definition of atheist isn't saying anything
No, it's
is
not that-
right. It's saying something else is wrong.
And my
Yes.
problem was with people that believe they're right and start immediately.
Yeah, but they're only right about thinking this is wrong. I mean, that's where it becomes a word
I
game.
remember what I got in an argument with someone about. It was kind of having the atheists in this one Facebook community when there's like 30,000 of them.
Right.
The guy who was running it wanted to start having like a Sunday meetup, and I'm like, isn't this like church? Like, isn't this what we're not doing? Like,
No,
I've noticed that there's I've noticed that in the atheist community, there's a lot of people that stink to me, like they came for religion and now they're
They wanna make this
replacing things.
into another
Because I was
religion.
raised agnostic
Listen,
and I don't need like a Ten
The problem isn't
Commandments.
that people get together every Sunday.
Right.
no, but
that's not the problem with
No,
religion.
but they
And
wanted
I
to
used
get together
say-
and like make rules. Like, these are the atheist rules. Like,
Listen, I get this all the time. I go to a convention, they go, that sounds like church. I used to be really into setting up aquariums. Saltwater aquariums, freshwater plant aquariums.
I like where
it
this
was
is
my
starting
life.
already.
yeah.
Because it had clear in it.
We went. I went to meetings.
You had to reach for that.
Yes.
I
No
went
pun
to
intended.
meetings.
Yeah.
We had communities. We had conventions. No one ever said sounds like a religion
I
to
would
me.
say that.
And it was way more like a religion than atheism has ever been.
So I was doing a comedy show, and afterwards, this lady came up and she said she enjoyed the show. And I asked her what she did for a living. She said she was a Christian Scientist nurse. And I was like, "Oh, really? I never heard of that. What hospital do you work at?" She said, "No, we don't have hospitals. What we do is we pray, and we create an environment of prayer, and then we let God do the work." And I was like, "Oh, maybe you should take the scientist out of your name there, because it sounds more like Christian voodoo, if you ask me." And she laughed when I said that because she had a good sense of humor. And I noticed she had perfect teeth. I go, "Wow, you've got great teeth." She goes, "I use a whitening toothpaste." And I was like, son of a bitch. Even God doesn't give you dental.
Religion is based on nothing. It's based on an ape fell out of a tree and they tried to explain thunder, and ever since then they've just been defending bullshit.
I think religion is based on a lot more than that, actually.
Okay.
And I'm pretty
based-
anti-religion, but
It's
Okay.
people trying to explain shit they didn't have an explanation for.
Yeah.
And
Religion
then,
was science
and then
before
when
there
we
was
did-
science.
When we did have an explanation, they liked theirs so much. It
Yes.
was so comforting they didn't want
Yes.
to.
no, it wasn't that they liked theirs so much. It's that
It was profitable.
It's that it became really powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
No, I think it partly is that they like it so much too, and this is from my personal experience of being religious and then letting it go. Letting go of the thought of an afterlife, while it actually is comforting to me now, I like the thought of not living forever, because the thought of living forever terrifies me. But at the time, as a 14-year-old kid, letting go of that, letting go of the idea of seeing grandma again, letting go of the idea of living forever, hurt like hell.
Well, I went through a lot
part
of
of why I
this
didn't want to let go of it is because it was comforting. It was and I wasn't making a profit off of it.
Right.
I've actually, my brain's been, I lost my wife this year, and so
Sorry.
I would drunkenly wake up to having Googled quantum physics proof of the afterlife for 5 hours.
Right.
Don't you think in a real sense though, like here's what I guess, it's not a belief, it's based on evidence. They say, there is no death, right? Because we're all just energy condensed to a slow vibration, experiencing ourselves subjectively, as Bill Hicks ingrained in my head.
After he took a whole bunch of LSD, so let's not say that that's technically scientific information.
But that's really what we are, like with things that were literally made up of the same things that makes up this. It's just energy reorganized. And the only thing that people can't put their finger on is what is consciousness. If you see a weed come up and go through the cracks in the sidewalk, and when the sun comes up, it turns towards the sun and opens up. And when it goes down, it turns down. You can't tell me that thing doesn't have consciousness.
Yeah.
The one thing that I took with me after Holly was gone was like, I sat there and I was like, okay, I don't know what a soul is. Because there's not enough proof of it. There's the 4.5 grams thing. There's little tiny.
Right.
Yeah. So who knows about this soul thing? But I do know that other than that, my wife was hardware and data, and her hardware failed.
But where's the data?
And I found out that most scientists at a high quantum physics level believe that information, much like matter, can't be destroyed. And Stephen Hawking actually thought for a while that if he were to throw himself into a black hole, he may be able to destroy his information. But then later he thought no. But he's also a massive narcissist, so it could be just like, my information can't be destroyed.
It's too strong, yeah.
But what I took from that is, because Holly existed, she will always exist.
Right.
If her information can't be destroyed.
Well, if no matter can be created or destroyed, it can only be changed or moved.
Yeah.
So if that's true, then that would be true.
Yes, energy can't be destroyed or created, it can only change forms.
Yes.
And the idea is that information holds the same thing. I find memetics too a really fascinating.
I don't know what that is.
Memetics is the study of information.
Okay.
Basically. And there's a lot of really interesting things. Like, you know what a meme is, right?
Yes.
Okay. And a meme, although it means Keith's crappy pictures of himself with his crappy jokes on them.
Those are great jokes, by the way.
Those are awesome jokes. I'm teasing you.
He made the first one that went viral.
Oh, okay.
A meme is any idea that's portable. So like, if you liked the way that I folded the tongue down on my shoes, and you're like, hey, that's cool, and then you did the same thing to your shoes, that the tongue being folded down on my shoes, that would be a meme. It would be a form of a meme, right? It's a piece of information that you can take and go with. The study of memetics has become almost a bioscience, where some memes survive, they're holding up to laws of evolution. And where that gets complicated is evolution works.
They almost qualify as a life form.
Because
the
evolution
way they
works.
grow and evolve. And
Survival of the fittest works because you and I want to survive. So we go out and we do those things. So if memes are exhibiting these signs of evolution, do they have an impetus?
I've thought the same thing before about corporations, and that the big problem with them is that they don't want to die. We actually make something that is bigger than the person who made it because they die.
And we have
the
Citizens
guy who
United
invented
to declare
Walmart
their
is
people.
gone. And in a sense, Citizens United, as much as I hate it, was right about one thing. They're just really terrible people.
Yeah.
Because all they want is to not die. They're just vicious. We want to live and grow. That's all a corporation wants, to live and grow.
And they become larger than the people.
What's wrong with a great mom and pop business that when mom and pop die, closes down and says thank you for the years of wonderful being customers? And
I think there's utility. I think there is definitely utility in corporations having, people can form a corporation. It helps economies but when the corporation becomes more important than the society it's supposed. So when the society starts to serve the corporation instead of the corporation market-serving society, which is the big bullshit meme about free markets, right? There is no such thing as a free market. People act like there's this market that Jesus set up, and then we can either use it or corrupt it, and that's not how it is. Just to put a button on the energy thing, like the energy that's in us right now, that's fueling us. So I ate a bean and cheese burrito, and so now I have energy. But that energy that's in that bean and cheese burrito, has always been here, always will be here, will never go anywhere.
And it's been millions of other things.
There was an Oprah special where because she had like all these different books on different religions, and so it kind of seemed like she kind of followed everything. Like she was interested in everything. And I was like, do you think Oprah sits around and thinks about like every time Oprah gets richer, like more babies die? Like is that
I had a guy debating with me who said, according to your atheist beliefs, then you are no more important than the piece of broccoli you're going to eat. And I said to him, because I'm an animal, I have this basic belief that I am more important than the broccoli, but I totally respect the broccoli's right to disagree. I can't believe they're still using the argument that marijuana makes you paranoid, which I find so hilarious. I don't smoke it myself, but from what I've heard, it probably does. Probably does make you paranoid. But I have a theory. I think it might be because we keep fucking arresting people for it. It just seems like maybe if we legalize it, that symptom might go away. Masturbation will make you paranoid if you live with your parents. Right, Robin? Exactly. I figured out the hipster means something totally different in Northern and Southern California. We were talking
It's such an awful word, hipster.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
It's such a recursive ego clusterfuck.
I hate it as a word. I get called it all the time. But I feel like, I was telling them, I feel like the hipsters up in Northern California, it's just what they're calling, at one time they were called downtown kids, and then they were called scenesters. It's just the artists, and the kids are doing all the cool shit. Yeah. People are like, look, he thinks he's better than us because he's wearing those pants. And I'm like, no, you're insecure because you're afraid to wear those pants.
What the word hipster actually means is how dare you think you're as cool as I think I am.
Right. That was the thing. Somebody actually had Punch a Hipster in the Face Day on Facebook, and it had so many people saying they were going to attend. And my whole thing was like, well, what's wrong with them? Have you listened to their music? I said, yeah, a lot of it's really cool. What about their clothes? And I go, well, like hippies look silly at the time, but we romanticize it now. Punk looks silly at the time. I think it's great. Mods, blah, blah, blah. They're just the current version of that, and you're the redneck outside the bar not letting them in. That's all you are. And then what it came down to is they said they think they're better than us. And I said, okay, well, that I can understand because we're so obviously better than them. They didn't get it.
It's smart,
they punched me in the face.
I have an issue with what I would term hipster, which is my own personal view of it. But the fact that arts and music especially, and I don't know if this comes into comedy, but the kids that can afford to be in a band are the ones that have nothing to say because they can afford to be in a band,
Right.
So they, and it's just like this pastiche. It's like we're third, fourth generation of, so they're copying the people that came before them. They completely lose where the original kind of stuff comes from. I don't know if you get this in comedy, you get your Bill Hicks and then you get your...
There was a comedian when I started in Chicago, and he was a very likable guy, very nice guy, generous guy, but he grew up incredibly wealthy, right? So he was really wealthy, although he didn't, you wouldn't know it to look at him. He just looked like a regular person. But he was a comedian, and, he didn't have anything to talk about on stage. He ended up talking about, stuff that didn't connect. And what is he going to talk about? His problems of not being able to relate to poor people anymore? So he's kind of at a disadvantage. If he did that, I would have, but you can't,
Loudon Wainwright.
Who's that?
Loudon Wainwright is a folk singer.
Only hipsters know.
But he sang about his rich kid country club life.
Oh, really?
And it was funny and it was honest.
But that's
his experience of who he was.
Okay.
And he never denied it or pretended, and that's what was so brilliant. I think that young Mick Jagger, is like the handsomest guy ever. I think he was a beautiful young man.
I think he's beautiful. I think he's more of a woman.
Yeah.
Pretty.
He's pretty. He's very pretty.
He's younger.
Everyone talks about him being ugly and then being an ugly band.
No.
I don't see it. In the band The Rolling Stones, one of them should have been a sacrificial lamb and let themselves go bald. Because it's not believable. All of them have those thick, luxurious locks. It's bullshit.
Yeah.
And one of them should have taken one for the team and went, I'm
So
the
you
bald
think
guy.
that there's fake hair involved in this?
Jimmy, I'm really sorry. I feel like I just told you there's no Santa Claus. There's not, by the way.
They're fake haired? They're all fake haired in the Rolling Stones?
I don't know. Except for
I
Charlie
think-
Watts.
See, This is awful.
No.
Why do you exist to do this to
What do you mean?
I don't.
You mean Keith? Are you talking Mick Jagger has a wig?
I'm a hair theist.
The best one.
Shall we tell them about my brother's cruelty?
Yeah.
You'll relate to this.
Okay.
So I got, for fighting, I got kicked out of 3rd grade. I get expelled. I'm fully expelled from the school. And, my mom's not going to put up with me at home. She's got 4 other kids. Homeschooling's not an option. She gets me tested for MGM at the time. It became GATE, Gifted and Talented.
Okay.
I get in. So they're going to bus me to a new school. Well, the school that has GATE is the school that has all the special programs. So I get on a little tiny bus with a bunch of kids who have developmental disabilities. I come home, and there's my brothers waiting for me. So, you went to a new school, huh? I said, yeah. He said, because you're smart. Yeah. So let me get this right. You got kicked out of school for fighting, and you get to go to a new school because you're smart? Yeah. You rode a little bus there. Yeah. So the other kids on the bus, they smart too? No. They were mentally retarded. Listen, do you think that their parents told them they were smart? Evil bastards! So, do you think being a comedian is a symptom?
I think it's, I think that...
And I don't just mean for me, I mean in general.
I think what made me a comedian certainly was that I was the youngest and I needed attention, and I was smaller than all my brothers, and I couldn't beat anybody up, so I had to use humor, right, and to get attention. And then when I went to high school, I went to a high school that none of my brothers had gone to, right?
Oh,
so it was
lucky.
a fresh start.
Yeah.
And again, I was still not the biggest guy, so I would latch on to the big football players, and I would get them to like me by being funny, and they always wanted to have me around, so they would protect me because I was the funny guy. And that's how I got through life. And then people have more talent than or less than others, and that's to me, I think that it's a coping mechanism, and comedy is masculine in a way that when you're funny, you take control of a room, right? And that's why I think you see a lot of female. It's harder for females because it's not a feminine quality to control a room, and so they have to kind of tap into their masculinity in a sense to do comedy. And that's why I also think that a lot of female comedians are lesbians, right? Because
Higher than the
I think
societal
I
percentage.
don't know if they've ever done a study, but I would say a greater percentage certainly in comedy than in the population. And it's because as a comedian, I'm trying to impress girls with my comedy to get them to like me, right? And so are other female lesbians, right? They're trying to do the same thing.
I think
say
that's
about,
interesting.
I think that was a really decrepit way to put something that could have been really nice.
Well, you say that that females, they don't control a room, but the moment a female walks into a room, she's controlling
No,
the room.
He's
Right.
saying
In what
you don't have to have
way?
comedy to do it. Is what
Oh,
you're saying.
right. I
Right,
see.
to
So
use
I
comedy to do it.
No, and I think that's true. I've actually had this discussion with Jesse about guitar playing. Why there's no
Joan Jett.
hugely amazing. I love Joan Jett, but as far as just guitar playing, or there's no Stevie Ray Vaughan female
Joan Jett's a rhythm guitarist.
version. Yeah. So, and I was just kind of because we don't have to, but I think it's true. There's that. I don't think it's that a woman couldn't do it. It's just that you have to put so much time into doing that, and what's going to motivate you to do that? Then, if there's some motivation, like you're saying,
Yes.
other than that. Whereas I think what you're saying about females doing comedy, I do think that was true 10 years ago. I think now it's different.
Probably now it's different.
Yeah, but I think also the roles are changing a little bit.
That's what I wanted to say. I don't think it's an inherent gender quality, but I think very little is an inherent gender quality. And as someone who I myself am constantly called gay or I'm not masculine enough or whatever else, I think it's something that's enforced on women from the time they're very young. And I'm watching it with my daughter now. She's 3, and for her birthday, everybody wants to buy her stuff she doesn't want. She likes trains. We live by the train tracks because we're poor. She loves trains. That's what she wants, and they want to get her. Here's the princess dolls, and here's the and they're just trying to enforce that on her. So I don't know if it's. I agree with you. Because it's a enforced trait of femininity, and I think that's why, and because it's becoming less enforced, that's why I think we're seeing more and more female comics now. Is that we're no longer telling them it's not okay to control a room. Because you look at Phyllis Diller, she said the costume she wore, she called it her uglification process.
Well,
Yes.
Because she
Totally.
said she had to,
It's the
or
same
she
in
couldn't
business.
work a mixed room of male and female. She
Right.
could do a stag party and be cute. But in front of men that were there with their wives,
Right.
she had to, quote,
Because
uglify herself.
Because women would resent her
Women
for being
hate women for
and
that.
men,
men
men
would hold
were
back
afraid
on-
to laugh at her.
It's the same in business though too. You have to kind of purposely dress ugly because when you're dressed like I have tons of dresses, but I would never wear a dress to work because you won't get looked in the face all day long.
Oh, wow,
And so
okay.
I would wear pants and like tennis shoes and like not wear makeup, and that's why you often see like the corporate executive woman who looks like a lesbian. I think is because that's how she's been able to compete with the guys in that arena, is by taking that off the table of like they're not going to look at me as that object. So they're going to be forced to just listen to what I have to say.
I just want to say that if I've once in this conversation not looked you in the face, I hope they'll edit that out.
We're going to edit just the reel of
Keith's looks.
For 10 hours.
An animated
YouTube
GIF.
now allows 10-hour videos, so it's just keep doing that.
It'd be like Andy Warhol sleep. Keith Jensen's lost.